there's going to be a 51 increase of incidences of cancer.
Find out from the customer what exactly they want to better their needs and so forth.
And even if you say, hey, I'm going to travel to move to the UK, it's a lot easier to buy euros with US than it is to buy euros with GBP, right? So we all have different savings goals, we have different investment goals, and we have different coverage goals. And this plan is fully customized.
What Pan American has to offer to citizens of Trinidad and Tobago that is rewarding right now?
So Pan American Life has multiple rewarding financial services and products. The one that I am mostly reaching out to a lot of my colleagues, a lot of my friends, parents like myself, is specifically our US dollar policy. So essentially, this US dollar policy utilizes your credit card. And your credit card on a monthly basis, say you have a $2,000 credit card, right? You're not going to use all that $2,000. And even if you don't use that $2,000, say you only use $1,000 US from that, does the next month that extra $1,000 roll over?
No.
No, it doesn't.
It does not.
Yeah. So if you're able on a monthly basis to put aside a little bit of your US, and that money goes towards a savings account with Pan American Life, and that money grows at a 3.5% interest rate.
3.5, okay, awesome.
Yeah, a 3.5% interest rate per annum, then you're able to have a US reserve, and you can use that US reserve for retirement purposes. You can use it for children's education, or you could use it for when you're ready to travel in the next few years and you don't want to fight up the banks for like $200 every few days.
Correct. Two important questions I think persons may want to know. If it is that they could take out the US when they're ready, or is it that it have to mature over a time period in order for them to take it out?
You're right. So with this particular policy, there is a time period. So like with fixed deposits, there's like 1 year, 5 years, 10 years. With this particular policy, there's a 5-year waiting period before you actually can access some of the funds, right? And then you can access up to 100% of the funds after the 14th year. So there are different intricacies to the policies that we could discuss, but the whole idea about it, the full factor about it is that you're paying a premium, like if you're paying a subscription, like if you're paying an Amazon subscription or a Netflix subscription, and that money is going towards a fund that's being built that you will have access. Now, we know we have a Forex situation in Trinidad. You do
have a terrible Forex.
So it's not that you're getting cash. You're getting 3 options that you can have for this money to be delivered back into your hands. You can either have it sent directly to your local US bank accounts, which we don't really, it's your choice.
Understood.
2, you can have it sent to your US bank accounts abroad, right? If you have your US credit card and you want to send it directly to that account, that's up to you. Or 3, you can get a US check so that when you travel, you can go to Bank of America if it's 40, 50,000 US dollars, and you're able to access cash that way.
So in terms of if someone wants to enroll into this, I would say, investment opportunity that you have right now with Pan American, what sort of requirements that they would need?
So essentially what we'll have to do is to have a conversation, because yes, it is a beneficial plan, but we have to see if it suits your goals and your needs. What is the main reason you want this, right? So remember, it is a life insurance policy with an investment side of it. So what we're having, it's not just you put it in your money at the end of the day and you're going to get a return. There's also coverage attached to this. And if its coverage is necessary for you, is it how many kids do you have? Are you looking to purchase property, or maybe a business opportunity, where a business property, a home, a mortgage? There are different things that different people need. And then we can see what best suits you, because it's fully customizable. You can start from the minimum coverage of $100 US, or you can go up to $1 million US, depending, right? It depends on your level of need, and it depends on each individual person, because every person is different, right? You might want it because you're going to build your big building to have all your sales training, and you take a business loan to get that building, right? For me personally, I would like a home that would be fully paid off if anything were to happen to me, and my son would be able to go to university abroad. right? So we all have different savings goals, we have different investment goals, and we have different coverage goals. And this plan is fully customized.
And I think some people have to understand that this is an investment opportunity. Some people would think that they could invest today and next 6 months, they could take the US out and they would have, a 3.5% interest, but that's per annum.
Yes, but
so that's something needs to be understood. Yes.
So this is a medium to long-term investment tool. That's why we use it for children's education. So essentially, it takes 18 years for a child to turn 18. Right? So if you start from the moment your child is born, and I think like everyone needs to think about it this way, right? How would you have felt? How would you be now if when you turned 20 or 25 and you came to your parents and you said, hey, mom, dad, I have a dream. I have a bright idea of becoming a sales trainer, but I need X, Y, and Z to be able to do it. And your parents are like, son, we have been planning this from the moment you were born. We've put aside funds in an account.
Your child will smile.
Your child. You just set up future generations up for success because you did the planning 18 years ago or 20 years ago.
And the next question that I have for you that I think persons may want to know is how strong of a brand Pan American is, because people looking at, okay, I invest today and within 5 years or 20 years, would Pan American still be around?
So Pan American has been around for the last 100 plus years. All right, this is a US-based company.
That's something many people don't know.
Yeah, they're based in New Orleans.
We have any US-based insurance company in Trinidad?
Besides Pan American, right?
Besides Pan American,
No.
right? Okay.
Yeah.
So that's like the unique value proposition that they have to provide to their customers.
Yes. So in addition to us reporting to central bank, which all insurance companies are mandated in Trinidad, Pan American likes us to report to our head office in the US.
Okay, and which part in the US it is?
New Orleans.
No, okay.
Yeah,
Nice.
New Orleans. Yeah. So we have 2 sets of heads that we need to report to. So we have that extra level of security that you're looking for. A lot of people tend to think that insurance is us.
Yeah.
Right? And I don't subscribe to that, but I will tell you, before I came into the industry, oh my God, insurance agents are a dime a dozen. You always come in and they always come in to tell you about something and tell you about something. And I would ignore lots of them because I'm like, okay, you're going to come to talk to me about insurance. I don't even want to hear it. But when I became a mom, that's when it really clicked for me.
And like right now, I see a lot of people, getting sick. And then some people, they want to have that GoFundMe.
Yes.
But why it is having a GoFundMe when you could have an insurance policy for whether it be your health, critical illness. So when that time occurs, you don't need to seek funds and hope that someone provide that necessary funds for you to do that surgery. So anyone think that insurance is a scam, think about your health. And from your health, think about anything else, because without your health, you don't have any wealth.
Right. So think about it this way, right? You have a vehicle and you insure your vehicle in case of anything and you put it, right?
Correct.
What insurance does is insurance ensures that you are protected. You pass on that risk, right? So you're paying a small premium and it's the law of large numbers. So essentially, if you pay a small premium, I pay a small premium, and hundreds of other persons pay a small premium, if you were to get sick, obviously we don't expect that you get sick, we have the reserves to be able to afford your treatment. Now, I might never get sick in my life, but because we are all pooling together and the law of large numbers, we're able to save your life to a certain extent, depending. Like my manager, she had a client who ended up getting diagnosed with cancer. All right. So she had a critical illness policy.
Right.
And her critical illness policy was $2 million. And of course, when you buy a critical illness policy really, really young, you're able to get a really good premium. The younger you buy insurance with your health, right? You're healthy, you're young, you get a really good premium.
Let me ask you a question. I just want to interject. What may be considered an old age for someone to have an insurance policy? As you mentioned about when it is you purchase an insurance policy really young.
So again, it depends on affordability, because you can get insurance up until your 60 or more, depending. With this US dollar policy, you could get it up until 70.
Okay.
So there are different limits, right? So there's nothing essentially too old, because you would really want to put these things in place way before, you're 40 or 50 or anything like that. Because the point about it is, for certain things, certain goals, so people have certain savings goals, right? If you have retirement goals, you want to have your money compound. You want interest is the miracle of the 21st century. So that compounding feature, you need that.
So let's say someone 40 years now and they want an insurance policy, but they could only afford $200 per month. Would you think that's feasible for them at that age?
So it depends. If that's all that they can possibly
They would get some good coverage.
they can get some coverage is better than no coverage.
Understood.
All right. And you always have to think about it like that. Yes, this might be a bracket right now, but you can start with something small and then you can increase. Just because you're making a certain amount now doesn't mean that your whole life can't change in 6 years. But the thing about it is about having coverage, and life insurance is for people who have people who you love, right? And it sounds corny, but as I told you, right? As I became a mom, I didn't care about life insurance. I'm young, I'm single, why am I caring about life insurance? But when I saw my baby's face, if anything were to happen to me, if anything were to happen to my husband, what is going to be our position? All right, so say my husband passes, he's our main breadwinner.
Right.
How am I going to raise my baby? Am I going to do it through grief? Or as my husband passes, I get 2 weeks bereavement, and then I have to go back out to be able to afford milk and diapers and school fees, and that's going to be hard. But think about if we got an influx of money because he passed, because he prepared for us, that I could have taken maybe 3 months at home to grieve with my son. So, and then we could continue living our lives,
And my stepdad, he said that he glad that he took an insurance policy because he took the annuity insurance policy and he retired as a police officer. And when he retired, he got a lump sum of money, and every month he obtained something like $1,200 to $1,500, but he started late. But he just glad to know that, every month he obtaining something. So like his testimony is a testimony for myself as well, that insurance is real and it's not a scam as some people may think it's I think what you need is good financial advice from that financial advisor, because some
you need people using trust.
Don't advise customers well. They're just always talking about, hey, you need to increase your policy, you need to increase your policy amount. You're paying $200, you should pay $400, but they're not trying to find out from the customer what exactly they want to better their needs and so forth.
Yeah, so I have a friend, but she was a referral, all right? So essentially, one of my clients who turned friend referred me to one of her friends, and that friend is now a very, very dear friend of mine, right? Because I have that relationship. I build that relationship with my clients. Like I was telling you earlier before we started this, that I went to a birthday party of one of my clients' sons, right? And that girl was a total stranger to me. And now we have been planning for brunch. And that's the kind of relationship I have with my clients. It's not that you see me today and you're not going to see me until next year when it's time for me to talk to you about updating your policy. Right? You're going to see me all the time. You're going to message me all the time. And I think that's the kind of relationship that any kind of account executive or any kind of salesperson should have with their clients. Right? So in your situation where you were talking about this annuity with your stepdad, if your stepdad started at an earlier age and got the interest rate that he could get, all right? So think about it. The 3.5%, I'm using Pan American because that's honestly a ridiculously good interest rate. It's
thinking about it.
Based on the markets, all right?
And this is guaranteed every year based.
So it's what we've been paying for the last 10 years. The guarantee is 1%. Okay? So like different insurance companies have different amounts. Some insurance companies don't even have a guarantee.
Any other insurance company in Trinidad have what it is that you're offering in terms of the U.S. investment?
No other company has a U.S. dollar policy that you can pay with your credit card. So the full factor is you're paying your U.S. from the U.S. side of your credit card, but then you're clearing your credit card in $30. So you don't have to find the U.S. to pay this policy. Now, there's another company that you have to find the US dollars to be able to pay said policy. All right, but it's not as easily accessible as just paying your credit card and clearing it in TT.
Yeah.
Yeah?
I think that is really tremendous, and I think persons may not understand as yet, because if people really understand what Pan American is offering, people will rush this investment plan.
Yeah, no, people are rushing this investment plan, you know?
I mean, like,
I would like them to rush me. Big, come to me so that I can have that conversation, right? So we were talking about your stepdad's retirement plan. So that annuity, there are different ways to have a retirement plan, right? Now, hear me out. Insurance is an asset class by itself. You can use an insurance policy as a retirement plan. You can use an annuity, registered or unregistered, as a retirement plan.
okay.
The insurances of two. And there are multiple types of insurances that you can use as different tools to be able to obtain your goal, right? So with this US dollar policy, you can use that for retirement, right? You can use the annuity as a retirement, and depends. So like if you know your stepdad, he wants to get an amount every month, you can do that with the US dollar policy as well, all right? You can do it with your annuity, but there are other ways of obtaining the same goals. You don't have to buy a retirement plan for retirements.
Interesting. Yeah, I understand.
And besides, we need to think about it. When you retire, when I retire, what is the TT dollar going to be with? So everybody has a TT dollar plan. Everybody. And if you don't, come out to me, we can talk about a TT dollar plan, right? But what is the TT dollar going to be worth in 15 years, 20 years, or even 30 years for persons like myself?
Be sure about the US dollar, because it's used everywhere.
And even if you say, hey, I'm going to travel to move to the UK, it's a lot easier to buy euros with US than it is to buy euros with GBP.
Like, what country won $30? You know, even up the islands, you wouldn't find countries accepting $30. Yeah.
I love my country. I'm not bash Trinidad and Tobago.
We have to face reality.
But we have to face reality. And this is a way for you to put aside a little and use the miracle of compound interest. Have compound interest work in your favor. And you also have that coverage aspect that you could use for security for a mortgage, that you can use in the event that something happens to you. Your child is covered. If this plan was to be for an education fund for your child, if you were to pass, who's going to continue paying an annuity for your child to get money? No, but you have the coverage aspect that was that education plan that you would have had for your child.
And I know of a few persons, generational wealth they created based on insurance policy. So those who saying that insurance is a scam, if you were to ask maybe one or two persons who know other persons how it is that they obtain wealth, most of the times it's because their families put policies in place for them, and when it is that they pass, they inherited. So,
and there's certain things that you can do. There are certain things that, of course, insurance agents aren't really talking about, right? You can use insurance to fund a trust, to build that generational wealth. So your life insurance policy could fund a trust that could help your generation, your children, your children, right? And at that point now, you started a legacy. That's a legacy flatten.
Definitely.
Right? And it's just how you go about doing it now. I get no money if you decide to go the cross route, but I'm here to guide you. I'm here to show you that it is possible. You know, and if you haven't heard about it before, definitely come to me and we can have that conversation.
And you know, in closing, what would you like to tell persons out there that may be listening to what we have to say, but they may be not understanding everything and they're unclear to certain aspects?
So the only thing that people need to understand is that we as humans going about our daily lives, we have different risks. So the risk of living too long. So if you live too long, which sounds silly, but you live past your age of retirement, you're not guaranteed to get that NIS grants. And I hope that everyone knows that you're not guaranteed to get that money, depending on how much money you have in your bank account, depending on when they do the home visit by you, the home looks a particular way.
We done heard the talks from before about these things, so you can never tell what could happen.
So you don't know when it's time for you to retire if you're actually going to get that retirement grant. So that's not guaranteed. And even depending on your current salary per month, would that grant be able to cover your expenses and then even cover medical expenses at that age when you reach that time? So it's best that you put aside now. It might be a sacrifice, but it's a sacrifice that you're making for your future self.
Correct.
All right? The other risk is dying too soon. So you pass before you were able to put things in place that you would have wanted for your children or even for your spouse, for your life that you wanted. Okay, you passed too soon. What's going to happen? Who's going to pay the grocery bills? Who's going to continue paying the mortgage and the car loans? That's passing too soon. That's another risk, right? The other risk is becoming disabled or critically ill.
And these things could happen. Anything is possible. Though we live in a life that's unpredictable. Yeah.
And I want to end off with this one thing. Nobody thinks it's ever going to happen to them. Last year, I got into a car accident where someone slammed into me while I was in traffic. And I slammed into someone else. I could not work for 2 months, right? Almost 3 months, because at that 3rd month, I was now getting over the physical therapy and everything.
So you were damaged? Right.
I had very, very bad whiplash, right? Because I was not driving my vehicle. I was driving my dad's vehicle, and his is a regular car.
So you're fully good now?
Yeah, I'm good now. We're good now.
Awesome.
But all my coworkers were like, but that's okay. You're gonna get money, right? Because you have this policy in place. And I said, well, guys, I actually didn't buy it as yet because I didn't think that risk was going to happen. So I am living proof of if you are unable to work due to an accident or due to becoming ill and you have to be hospitalized, even if you're not hospitalized, you're able to get 75% back of your income to pay your bills. And that's a policy that Pan American Life has that no other insurance company has in Trinidad and Tobago.
75%.
Up to 70, to a certain limit. No more than $36,000 a month. All right, but 75% of like whatever your current. So if you're making $10,000, you can get $7,500 a month to pay your bills if you're unable to work. So for me, when I got into that car accident and I was unable, like this is a business, you have to go out there, you have to meet people. I'm unable to go out, I'm unable to meet people. I did not have any income coming in. But if I had that policy, I would have gotten back some of my salary to be able to pay my mortgage on a car loan. Understood, right? And that is a very, and I obviously, nobody thinks someone is going to slam into them in traffic.
No, and it's common because it happens a lot. A lot of accidents occur in our country and other countries as well. Anything is possible when it is that you're on the nation's road.
So a personal accident policy is definitely something.
Yeah, I believe that's vital, 100%.
Yeah, and then another thing I want to end with, you talked about critical illness, and one thing we didn't get into. Almost all of these critical illness plans, even in Pan American, you have to wait 28 to 30 days after your diagnosis to be able to get your lump sum. It's a survivability period.
Yeah.
If you have cancer, this is something that is very important. Time is not on your side if you have cancer. Cancer can metastasize, all right? If you want your best chance, Pan American Life has a policy, a cancer care coverage policy, where you get your money immediately after diagnosis. And in addition to the lump sum, you get money for brachytherapy, for radiation, for a whole long list. And I can share that with you for any one of your viewers who are interested in that. I can share that schedule of benefits because that is something very important. The World Health Organization says that there's going to be a 51 increase of incidences of cancer by 2050.
And I wouldn't doubt it. And the imported food that we eat, our imported food is very high. So we're not eating...
We're eating what our grandparents used to plant. We're not eating what they used to plant. Even the vendors that you see on the side of the road.
And the chicken that we purchase in, injected chicken and all these different things.
So there's high incidences of cancer. You have to cover yourself. And it's possible and it's more affordable than people think. All right? It's more affordable and something is better than nothing. And that's real truth of it. Something is better than nothing.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Definitely. So thank you very much for your time. It was really awesome.